Okay, thank you, Enrico. Last year, we added some new foreign partners, the United Kingdom and Italy, and combined both 50K and the high-density genotypes across those countries. The first part of my report on the 50K analysis was mainly done by Katie Olson, and then the rest of us worked on the higher density analysis. Let's see. Which one for down? Okay. So then the first topic then is, what is the effect of including the foreign bulls on the reliability on the US scale? And that was done in two ways, either modeling the data from foreign bulls single trait, meaning treating it the same as domestic data, or multi-trait, treating all the foreign information as a correlated trait. And the first analysis was including the Canadian, British, and Italian bulls in the Holstein breed, and then we also have earlier results from our genotype trades with Switzerland, Germany, and Austria in the brown Swiss breed. And then the second topic is to compare the high density evaluation with the 50K predictions. And that included, this is just for the Holstein breed, and included 1,500 high density genotypes contributed by the 4 countries, and that was evaluated only with the single trait methods. So to begin, sort of a new topic is the multi-trait model, treating the foreign bulls as a correlated trait instead of the same trait. The reason for this is the foreign information could outweigh the domestic if you get a lot of it. This could be either due to genotype by environment interaction or genotype by genotype interaction. In the first case, we're familiar with the low correlations, maybe because the traits are really measuring different properties in different countries. But however, when we're dealing with genomics, these SNP effects, even if your environments are the same in 2 countries, if the genetic background of the animals is different, then the SNP effects may be different in a foreign population than they are in your own. So the genetic correlation used then, in the multi-trait, we use the average of the MACE estimated correlations of the US with the other countries. Use the average for all foreign bulls. Or in the single trait case, then we just assumed a genetic correlation of 1 between for all the information. A little look at the bulls contributed in our truncated data, the 2008 truncated. There was 28% of the bulls were foreign in the sense that they had only foreign daughters. If they had any US daughters, then they were treated as domestic. So you can see the contributions of the 3 countries to that population, to the truncated population. This next slide shows the current data, and overall the number of animals genotyped for Holsteins is now 60,000 male, 120,000 females, but of those, the reference population is 18,000 males and 22,000 females. And you can, almost 8,000 foreign males in the reference population now, whereas in the August 2008 truncated data, we had 10,000 males and 3,500 of those were foreign. In the brown Swiss population, obviously much smaller, currently we have 1,600 bulls and just a few females, and about half of those were foreign genotypes that we traded, and the validation set is much smaller for brown Swiss than for Holsteins. So moving directly to the 50K results, Then if we did not have the foreign data included, you get a 21.9% reliability increase. This is an average for just these 9 traits. And adding the foreign bulls with the standard method, which is a single trait, you get close to a 3% increase in reliability. And for the Holsteins, the multi-trait analysis did not lead to any further improvement. So in other words, maybe the correlations really are fairly high. And these results for Holstein are all traits improved with the addition of foreign bulls, and it was about the same amount of improvement for every trait. And from the last 2 columns, you can see that there was almost identical results with single trait and multi-trait methods. The Brown-Swiss evaluation then, this was just with 50K, and the contribution of the German, Austrian, and Switzerland bulls is shown there. And the results then, in terms of reliability, just from the USA bulls was fairly small, 8.5% average. Adding these foreign bulls was helpful with single trait methods and even more helpful with multi-trait methods. However, the results are not nearly as consistent across traits. Some variability, some of them actually were in the not expected direction, but that's probably due to the sampling variation with just such a small reference or validation population. Moving on to the high density analysis then, the 1,500 animals with the high density chip were a mixture from all of the 4 partners, plus some bulls from other countries and some cows in the Beltsville research herd. And then we also had conducted earlier analyses with 342 high density and 1,078. I'll show one comparison with those earlier studies. The reliabilities then for the high density on the first column is the 50K gain versus parent average. This number looks a little higher, 31.5 average. That includes 28 traits. The confirmation traits that contribute, a lot of those are not listed on this slide, but they tended to have higher gains in reliability that push the average up. The second column shows the difference between the high density reliability and the reliability from 50K, only a 0.4% increase on average. And then the final column is a difference between using the nonlinear, which is a Bayes method for the high density analysis versus the linear. Also less than a 1% gain from using the nonlinear method. And there were no traits that really had very large either increases or decreases going from 50K to high density. Basically all the traits had small increases going from linear to nonlinear. The preliminary analyses with fewer high density genotypes, the conclusion from that was with only 342, the imputation was not sufficiently good that we actually lost reliability. With 1,000 high densities, then there was a 0.5% increase, and there was no further increase, in fact a tiny decrease, moving from 1,000 HD to 1,500. And that indicates that getting further and further high density bulls will probably not lead us to a big breakthrough on evaluation accuracy. And the next slide will show some of the accuracies similar to some of the previous talks have shown going from low density to 50K. Here we went from low and medium density to high density, and the imputation was done both with FindHap and with FImpute from the University of Guelph. And that was done in 2 different ways. One way is just to try to put all the genotypes together and run the imputation at once. That's the all. And the 2-step is to try to impute from the low density up to 50K, and then use that data and go from the imputed 50K up to the high density. And that that 2-step approach with both softwares led to an improvement, a little bit more of an improvement with FImpute. You can see that the 2 softwares gave fairly similar results, with the FImpute a little better in the all, and then the 2-step approach led to a further improvement, especially at the lower densities. So there are many ways to run an imputation, and we're just gradually finding out the better methods. So in conclusion then, the reliability improved when the foreign data was included, using single trait methods, a little less than 3% for Holstein, and a little more than 3% for Brown Swiss. The actual gains we expect will be larger than this, because a lot of the foreign bulls were in the last 4 years and were not included in the truncated data. And also because the bulls that have daughters in multiple countries were treated as if they were domestic, but they're really, a lot of those really were foreign bulls. And then the multi-trait added a little bit of reliability in the Brown Swiss analysis, but not in the Holstein analysis. The high density analysis resulted in only a 0.4% increase in reliability as compared to the 50K. And the imputation accuracy seemed to be sufficiently okay with 1000 HD, and moving up to 1500 did not get us any higher reliability. And FImpute was a little more accurate than FindHap across the range of densities. So I would like to thank Marge Faust, Brian Van Dormel, Gordon Doak, and Dan Gilbert for arranging to do the genotype exchanges. The genotypes themselves were provided partly from the CDDR in the US, the Canadian Dairy Network. Italian Ministry of Agriculture supported the high-density genotyping in Italy. DEFRA in Great Britain, the Swiss Brown Cattle Breeders Federation, and Bavarian State Research Center for Agriculture all provided genotypes for this study. The high-density bulls, the selection of which bulls to genotype was done by Kent Weigel and Ezekiel Nicolazzi. And there was a lot of work to edit and assemble all the genotypes. That was done partly by AIPL and partly by BFGL with the group you see there. So, are there questions?